Hello everyone, happy Tuesday. It's time for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. This is Lena Gersa. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada. And today I am super excited to share with you these 3 gorgeous projects made using the free lovely lily pad stamp set from Celebration. Now, you heard that right. This stamp set that I use to create these cards is free. So right now, Stampin' Up! Is offering this amazing promotion called Celebration. You can find more information in this brochure called Celebration appropriately. And if you turn to pages 4 and 5, you will see the stamp set. Hi, Heather. How are you? How's the weather in Florida? I heard it's a little chilly down there right now, but probably not as chilly as it is here. So this is the stamp set. It's shown on page 5. Now, I'll be honest, you guys. When I first saw this, I was like, oh, okay. I don't really get it, but whatever. It was like, okay. And this was actually one that I got for free at Onstage. Otherwise, to be honest, I probably would not have ordered this set because it was just one of those, I don't really get it. Well, let me tell you, I am so thankful that somebody handed this to me at Onstage because I absolutely love this stamp set. Oh, hey, Deb. Oh, thanks for stopping by. I'll catch you on the replay. Be safe and have a great afternoon. You're right, Heather. It is not nearly as cold there as it is here. It's quite chilly and snowy here. So this stamp set is one that you have to play with to fall in love with, okay? Just to look at it, not such a big deal. But let me tell you, honestly, I'm going to show you some projects that I just love, and it didn't take me long to fall in love with this set. Now, this set also has some coordinating dies. So this stamp set is free with a $60 purchase here in Canada. So you can't purchase this. You have to purchase other things and then get this for free. Okay, so it's free with a $60 order. We also have coordinating dies. Now, I'm going to show you the dies actually in real life because it's really hard to make them out in the photograph. So these are the dies here. They coordinate with stamped images, but then we also have some dies that just cut shapes, okay? And these dies now are a level 2 reward item during Celebration, which means they are free with a $120 purchase here in Canada. Okay, so you can get the stamp set and the dies for $180 purchase. Okay, and if you're going to order $180, you might as well hit $200 and get some free Stampin' rewards, right? Right. Hey, Joanne, how are you? Now, the other cool thing with these projects is that there's also some beautiful designer paper that coordinates. Now, this is another $60 item. So the 4 items are yours free with a $240 purchase. Now, that may seem like a lot of money, but split it up, okay? Do 4 purchases of $60 and you can collect all of these beautiful coordinating products, okay? All right, so let's set these aside and we are going to get to it. As I said, we're going to make these 3 cards today. I'm going to start with this one, and this is my favorite. I was up very late last night playing with this stamp set, and this I wasn't even planning to do originally, but I came up with this card and I was like, oh my goodness, it's so pretty. I have to show them how to do this. So there are a couple of techniques involved with this card, so I'm going to walk you through it. This is not going to be a quick and easy one. This is going to be a little bit more involved. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to do this background technique, okay? So let me bring in an embossing folder. So this is another free item. This is another item that is in the Celebration brochure. I'll just quickly show you where it is. It's towards the back, and it's actually a bundle. You get this Power of Hope stamp set and the coordinating embossing folder. The embossing folder is called Stone, and it is a beautiful folder. So we're going to use that, and we're going to use it with our Versamark pad. So to get this background, I'll just explain what I did really quickly. Yes, it would make a beautiful 40th or 50th anniversary card, Heather. You're right. Hi, Deneen. How are you? So what I did is I actually embossed the cardstock with the Versamark ink on the embossing folder and then added my embossing powder and heat set it to get that cool background look. Okay, so all I did is I took my embossing folder. Now this is important to take note of. When you're opening your embossing folder, the side of the folder that has the Stampin' Up! Logo on it is the side you're going to apply your ink to. Hello, Gail. How are you? Oh, I don't know if this embossing folder is going to be in the catalog yet, Deb, or not. They haven't given us that information. I'm hoping it will because I love this folder. Now, Often Celebration is a place where they launch new products, so hopefully this will make an appearance in the annual catalog. I really, really hope so because I will miss it if it goes away. All right, so as I was saying, when we're adding our Versamark to the embossing folder, we want to do it on the side that has the Stampin' Up! Logo. So I'm going to open it up, and this is the side with the logo. I'm going to take my rather dirty Versamark and I'm going to very lightly just tap it over my folder. I don't want to press too hard because this has the raised pattern on it and I only really want to hit that raised pattern with my Versamark. I don't want to get it all over the folder, okay? If you do that, when you go to add your embossing powder, you're going to end up with the entire background covered, okay? So you just want to go really lightly with your Versamark and just hit that raised pattern, okay? Then you're going to add your cardstock to the folder, close it up, and run it through your machine, all right? Once you've done that, you're going to sprinkle it with embossing powder, I use gold, and heat it. And what you end up with is something that looks like this. Now, isn't that pretty? Look at that. It is just gorgeous. Now, if you look at this compared to this, you can see I actually didn't clean my embossing folder between doing this and between doing this. And you can see that this one has quite a bit more embossing on it than the original one. And that's, again, because I didn't clean my folder. So this actually took a lot more, or the cardstock took on a lot more Versamark, which meant that there was more embossing powder on it. Now, if that happens, you haven't ruined it. All you do is just take your fingers before you heat emboss it and brush off the excess powder, okay? You're still going to have the powder in the cracks and crevices, which is where you want it, and you're still going to get a really cool look, all right? So that is how I did that background. Now, there's another cool background on this one, and that is this ombre look that I did my stamped images on. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And I actually used, it looks kind of like it's watercolored, but it isn't. I actually used one of the stamps in the stamp set. So the cool thing about this stamp set, one of the cool things, there are several about this stamp set, is that the stamps are reversible. So this image here, and I'll just bring it in so you see what it looks like. This is sort of like a wave, right, on the water. But the background image is this sort of solid wavy image. Hi Sue, hi Laura, how are you doing? So I used that. So all I did is I mounted my stamp on my block with this image against the block. So I get this solid sort of wavy look, okay? And I'm going to use that stamp to create my background. Now I'm just going to clean this for a second because as I felt it, I felt some embossing powder on there and we don't want to have a gritty stamp as we're doing this. So we're just going to give that a quick clean. There we go. Okay, so I have here a piece of Whisper White cardstock, just plain old Whisper White, no watercolor paper involved. It is 2.5 by 5.25 inches. Okay, and I'm just going to turn that over because it's got a little bit of smudgy stuff on it. And these are the colors that I used. Okay, so you'll like this one. I'm using your favorite color. Hi, Jamie. How are ya? So I'm using Petal Pink, Blushing Bride, and Rococo Rose. That one's for you, Sue. Okay, now these colors work really, really nicely together and give a really cool ombre effect. So we're going to start with our lightest color, and that is the Petal Pink. And I'm going to take that sort of watercolor or wave line stamp, okay, and that's what you get. It's just kind of a little smudgy. And I'm just going to stamp it. And I'm not really worrying about how I'm doing it. I am just transferring ink from my ink pad to my paper. I'm not worried about getting it straight. I'm not worried about getting it even. I am just transferring ink. So I'm using that wavy stamp to transfer ink, and that's what I get. Now it doesn't look great right now because it's still wet. Just give it time to dry. Now I'm going to set that ink aside. We're going to come back to it in a couple minutes. But next I'm going to bring my next color, and this is Blushing Bride. So again, I'm going to pick up some of that ink and I'm going to overlap my original color, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come about 1/3 of the way down my cardstock again. And I'm just again overlapping, transferring that ink. Okay, and you'll see there are times where I'm not getting a super great image. Doesn't matter. I'm just adding layers of texture and ink here. Okay, so far so good. Pretty easy, right? No high-tech stamping involved. All right, last color is our Rococo Rose. So same thing, I'll just move this up a little bit so you guys can see. Let's give that a quick stamp off. And now I'm going to do the same thing with my Rococo Rose. So again, inking up my stamp. I'm going to overlap the previous color a little bit and just work my way down and fill the rest of that in. Again, I'm not worrying about trying to get it even. I'm just randomly transferring ink. Okay, what I want though is that sort of wavy pattern that I've got going there. Okay, you with me so far? Pretty simple, right? All right, remember how I said we were going to bring back in that Petal Pink? This is when we're going to do it. So I'm just going to stamp this off for a minute, get rid of most of that Rococo Rose, and I'm going to bring back my Petal Pink, and I'm just going to come in and just in a few random spots add a bit of that Petal Pink ink again. And this is just going to kind of pull those three colors together. Okay, so I'm layering some of the Petal Pink over top of the other colors and filling in anything that looks like it's a little bit of a gap. Okay, that's it. I know, you thought it was DSP, did you, Heather? It is just ink and this simple little wave stamp. All right, that's all there is to it. Now, I have put a ton of ink down on here, so I need to dry this a little bit before I do my heat embossing. So I'm going to turn on my heat tool. I'm sorry for the noise for a second, and I'm just going to give this a shot with the heat tool to dry it out, okay? Okay, now as I was doing that, I noticed one little spot up there that I missed. I don't want to have any white showing, so I'm just going to give it in one more little shot with my Petal Pink there, and we'll just kind of blend that a little bit. But isn't it amazing how much lighter it gets when you dry it? Okay, it's really quite saturated with ink, and as you dry it, it really lightens up. Let me just dry that out again. Okay, that's the worst of it. That'll still lighten up a little bit more, but that's it. Like super simple ombre background, right? Okay, now we are ready to stamp our lily. So this is that beautiful water lily image. The stamp is really stained because I've been using it a ton. Did I mention I really love this stamp set? Now, before I do that, the first thing I need to do is be really generous with my embossing buddy, okay? Any moisture that's still left on that cardstock, I want to get rid of because I want to make sure that my embossing powder only sticks to my stamped lily image. So we'll do that, get that guy out of the way, and then I'm going to bring back in my Versamark, and I'm going to ink up my lily. Now, I have a pad of paper underneath this. If you are working with photopolymer stamps, you want to have something with a little bit of give underneath them to make sure that you get the best possible image, all right? So having the paper under here gives enough give that I can get a really nice image with this, okay? So I'm going to stamp once, and then off the other side twice, and one more time with the Versamark. Okay, I'm not sure how well that shows up. Can you see those sort of ghosty stamped images there? All right, so now I'm going to bring in my gold embossing powder, and we're going to add some embossing powder to those stamped images. Now, when you use embossing powder, you need something to catch it. Some people will use a little plastic container, plastic dish. I have these beading trays that have a funnel in one end, which makes it easy to get the powder back into my little tub of embossing powder. Okay, and you can see by using that embossing buddy, I have made sure that I'm only going to get powder on those stamped images. Aren't they pretty? They're pretty just like that. We're going to heat them and be magical. All right, we're going to get this out of the way. I'm going to set that far away so I don't knock it over and make a mess. Hey, sister, how are ya? All right, so now I'm going to hit this with my heat tool again. All right, sorry for the noise, but watch how beautiful these look once we heat them up. All right, look at those. Isn't that pretty? Oh, I love that image. It's just so detailed and just really, really beautiful when it's heat embossed in gold like that. All right, the rest of the card is going to come together pretty quickly. So I'm going to bring in that cool background. So this is that background that I explained how to do. And I'm also going to bring in some additional die cuts. So these are die cut using the lily pad dies. All right, so this is cut from gold foil. This is a pretty border piece, and I'm actually going to use it as an edge piece. So I'm going to glue one this way and one this way. Okay, I kind of like the fact that it doesn't go all the way across. So to do that, I'm going to add, just make sure I put my adhesive in the right spot. I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive along the top on one side. We're going to go down, I don't know, I'm just eyeballing this. I didn't really measure it. You know, 2/3 of the way on one side, and then it's going to come up 2/3 of the way on the other. So we'll put it, I don't know, like there-ish. That looks good, right? Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and glue this onto my panel. Now, I did this off to the side a little bit. I actually glued it so that it was about 1/2 inch, so that this edge was about 1/2 inch from the left edge of my background panel here. Okay, so I'm going to add some more fast fuse. You'll want to use a strong adhesive with this because of the embossing on here. Tombow liquid glue will work. Snail, probably not the best choice. Because of the heat embossing. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just stick this down and hope and pray that it is straight-ish. There we go. All right, then I can come in. Actually, you know what? I'm going to bring in my mini trimmer. Woohoo! Yay, mini trimmer. How many of you have this and how many of you love it? This is a freebie during celebration when you join Stampin' Up! So if you decide that you need to have all of these wonderful things, you too can become part of my Stampin' Symphony and get this for free in your starter kit. If you want more information, I have a video posted farther down on this page that tells you all about it. Okay? All right, so there is my background. How pretty was that, eh? Hi, Marilyn. How are you? Okay, next I'm going to bring in some beautiful Petal Pink ribbon. So this is from the Occasions catalog. It is, what is it, 1/4 inch? Yes, 1/4 inch ribbon. Petal Pink with champagne metallic. Now, against this, it looks gold, right? This champagne edging on here works with just about anything. It looks gold if it's against gold. It looks silver if it's with silver. It's kind of magical that way. So I'm just applying a glue dot to one end. I'm going to wrap the end around the back of my panel here and trim it off the rule. And then I'm going to add another glue dot on the other end. Whoopsie, didn't stick. Come on, glue dot, work with me. There we go. And we'll stick that to the back. Okay, now I'm ready to go ahead and adhere this to my card base. Because this has so much going on, I decided to stick with a neutral card base and went with Crumb Cake. I just feel like the Crumb Cake works really nicely with the gold. So this is 4 1/4 by 11 inches. It's scored in the middle at 5 1/2. We're gonna fold in half along our score line. And then apply a little bit more adhesive to the, ooh, going too fast. When you go too fast with your fast fuse, bad things happen, especially on embossed cardstock. You start pulling up a layer of your cardstock. You just have to not rush when you're using fast fuse. And then we're gonna go ahead and pop that down on the front of our card, just like that, okay? Now, my sentiment, I've actually already stamped and embossed this because I knew this card was gonna take a while. So I wanted to kind of move things along. So this beautiful Celebrate is actually from another Celebration freebie. I'm all about the free today. And that is from this Happy Birthday to You stamp set. So it has this beautiful birthday cake. Stay tuned for more on that in the coming weeks. But it also has this lovely, almost hand-brushed Celebrate. So that's what I used here. I heat embossed it in gold. And then I used the Ornate Frames dies to cut out my label. All right, now here I have another die cut from the lily pad dies, and it is cut also from gold foil. So I'm going to add it as just a little accent behind my sentiment. So I'm just going to add a bit of adhesive there and just kind of tuck that in behind like that. And then that is going to get popped up on the front of my card with a couple of dimensionals. And we're going to pop it on right about here. So I'm putting this on so it's a little bit off center. I like things off center. Maybe that's because I am off center. Who knows? And I'm going to go ahead and stick this down so it's overlapping my ribbon like that. Okay, and then the last touch, couple of touches, is to add a bow. So here's your weekly bow tying lesson. So I'm holding my ribbon between my index and middle fingers. Okay, my ribbon is flat. I have a tail in my left hand and I have the roll to my right. I'm going to pinch my ribbon between my thumb and index finger to create loops. Now you'll notice my loops are flat. I haven't let them twist. I'm going to take my left loop, cross it over the right, and then bring it around and through and pull it tight. And there is the quickest, easiest, pretty little bow you'll ever see. So we just play with our loops and adjust them, trim off the excess, and there's a pretty little bow. So easy. All right, so we're going to take and add a glue dot to the back of the knot and then just adhere that just below the label, and that's it. Isn't that pretty? Now the last touch, because once you start adding stuff to pretty cards, you can't stop, right? So I pulled out some gold metallic pearls. I'm pulling apart my take your pick, and I added just a couple of these just as a nice little bit of blingy accent here. There's a lot of bling going on this card already, so it really didn't need it, but you know what? Why not? Bling is the thing. All right, there we go. Thanks, Laura. Glad you like that. I'll just quick show you what I did on the inside of my sample. I'm not going to take the time to do that now, but I did a little bit of ombre stamping on the inside just with that beautiful lily stamp, and I used the same 3 ink colors, but inked the stamp with all 3 colors to get that ombre look. Okay, so that is card number 1. Isn't it pretty? Oh, I think it's my favorite card that I've made with this set. I love it. All right, moving on. I'm going to get some stuff out of the way here. And we're going to go on to card number 2. We're going to do some coloring, some blending. All right, let's get rid of this as well so we have a nice clean work surface so you're not looking at my ink smudges from the previous card. And I'll bring in the next sample, which is this one. So this is one that I actually designed for a swap that I participated in. One of the perks of being a demonstrator is that we get to swap card ideas with other demonstrators. So I participated in a couple of swaps that are actually with demonstrators from all across Canada. And we mail our cards to each other and we end up with all kinds of amazing ideas for cards and then samples as well to show our customers. So this was one that I designed and made for a swap that I participated in recently. Oh, okay. Heather, I will show you sometime how to do that. All I did was I applied the ink with a Stampin' sponge, or a sponge dauber, Heather. That's all I did on the ombre look. Okay. All right. So this one is colored using Stampin' blends, and I'm going to show you how I did that. Obviously, it can't be that hard to color them hi, Anne. How are you? It can't be that hard to color them if I made 20 of these. Okay, so that's a lot of colored images. They are not hard to do. Just a little bit time consuming, but not difficult. All right, so let's get all our bits out here. So I've gone ahead and started the coloring on this because it does take a little while. So I've done some of it ahead of time because I didn't want you to have to sit here and watch me color all of these images. So what I have stamped, just on Whisper White cardstock, I stamped a large lily, one of the medium lilies, and then a large and small lily pad, and then die cut them all using my lily dies, my lily pad dies. Okay, so I've already colored this one using the same technique, but I'm going to show you the last few petals on this bloom. So here I have my dark Flirty Flamingo Stampin' Blends, and I'm just going to take and fill in the petals with the dark Flirty Flamingo to start. Okay, so anytime I have found, now I know there are lots of different techniques for using the blends, but in my experience I find I get the best results, and by results I mean the blending effect, if I lay down a layer of light color first. I just find that allows me to move the ink around much easier. So there's my layer of the dark Flirty Flamingo, and then I have here the dark Lovely Lipstick. Okay, so I'm going to come in now and I'm just going to add some dark shadowing sort of to the center of each petal and along sort of the base of each petal. And that is just going to add the shadow that I can then blend out. Okay, just like that. Not hard, just adding some some darker shadow. Then I'm going to come back with my dark. Now this time I'm using the bullet tip because I really feel like I can blend. Now this is going to make that awful squeaky noise that some of you don't like. So you may want to mute your sound for a minute while I do this. But I'm going to take and I'm going to go over that area that I had laid down the dark lovely lipstick and blend that out. And you're going to see as it blends, it turns almost a coral color as the two colors meld together. And I just really liked that combination. So I'm just going to take and pull that ink out, that darker ink, towards the tip of the petal. And that is really all there is to it. It is nothing high-tech or rocket science-ish. It's pretty straightforward. And there you go. There's your beautiful blended flower. Okay? So that is that. Now, also, to do my lily pad, I used these three colors. And you may be surprised to see this color, but it adds just a little extra shading. So I'm going to start. This is my Granny Apple Green, the light Granny Apple Green. So again, I'm going to lay down a layer of the light. I'm going to just color this whole thing in with the light. Now, I will recommend when you are coloring and then die cutting, do your coloring first and then die cut. It's easier than trying to hold this little bitty piece of paper while you're coloring. Okay, so then I'm going to take my dark and I'm going to kind of follow that circle or sort of semicircle on the lily pad with the dark Granny Apple Green. Okay, so that's the dark and the light. Then here I have some light Bermuda Bay. And I'm just going to take and do a light sort of quick pass around that inner circle with the light Bermuda Bay. Then I'm coming in with my light Granny Apple again. And I'm going to blend that out. And you're going to see that that Bermuda Bay just kind of blends into the green and just gives you a nice shadow effect. I pulled the Bermuda Bay in because I wanted it to still work with the colors in the DSP that I'm using. And the DSP has a lot of Bermuda Bay in it. So that's why I pulled that in. Okay, and that's it. There are my lily pads. Pretty simple, right? Now, what did I do? Okay, they're there. I thought I'd lost one of my lilies for a minute. All right, so now I'm going to assemble my flowers. So this guy is going to kind of go on this end. So I'm just going to add, where's my fast fuse? A little bit of fast fuse to the back of my large lily. And I'm just going to kind of glue him, right about there, sitting on the lily pad like that. And then same thing with my small one. It's going to go on right about there. There's not really a wrong way to do that. Water lilies kind of grow any which way. Okay, so those are done. I'm going to show you how to assemble this now. So I have a piece of Whisper white cardstock. It is 4 by 5 1/4 inches, and I have embossed it using the Mosaic embossing folder. Now, when I made this card, I didn't have the stone one. I think the stone one would look amazing with this instead of the Mosaic, but the Mosaic totally works too. And you can decide which way you want it to go. You can have the circles going up or the circles going down. I'm actually going to do it this way. I kind of like them that way. And then here I have a piece of the designer paper. So this is the Lily Impressions designer paper. And it is cut to 1.5 by 5 1/4. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this on. And once again, I'm gluing it about 1/2 inch from the left edge of my background piece. So I'm going to add some fast fuse. And we're just going to pop that on just like that. Hopefully straight, possibly not, because, you know, when you're not looking at it straight on, it's hard to know. Now, one of the things that you will find when you use embossing folders is that your cardstock shrinks a little bit. So this was originally cut to 4 by 5 1/4, but as I emboss it, it shrinks a little bit. So I had that little bit of excess. So you just need to trim that off with your snips. Okay, now that is ready to glue onto my card base. I use a lovely lipstick cardstock for my base. It is cut to 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. I'm going to fold it in half along my score line. Grab my bone folder to crisp that up. And then this is going to get glued onto the front of my panel. And having learned my lesson from the last one, I'm not going to rush with my fast fuse so I don't tear my cardstock. And then we're going to pop that onto the front of the card, just like that. All right, and I will add closed captions once I edit the post. All right, I generally don't do it as I'm doing it live because I tend to talk really quickly and the captions are not good. So I will add them later. Okay, So we are going to go ahead and add our lilies now. So we're going to add some dimensionals to the back of these. So I'll just pop a couple of these on here. Hi Sandy, how are you doing? Hope you're having a good week. Let's get rid of these backings. And we're going to pop this guy down towards the bottom. And then we're going to add this one up towards the top, making sure that I'm not exposing my dimensional there. I probably should have used a mini, but that's okay. It fit. So this guy is going to go off the edge a little bit here, just like that. Okay. Now we're going to do our sentiment. So our sentiment comes from, you guessed it, yet another free stamp set. So this one is called Sending You Thoughts. It is another celebration freebie. Hi, Elfie. And this is just sentiment. So this one works with anything, right? It's got lots and lots of sentiments. It's got ones for the front and for the inside of your card. So here I'm using the happy birthday sentiment. And this is just a 3/4 inch strip of scrap whisper weight cardstock. I'm going to ink it up with my Memento black ink and stamp my sentiment somewhere, hopefully centered-ish. Not bad, not great. Let's try it one more time. It's very hard to do this when you are not looking straight over your card. Let's try it a little higher. There we go, that's better. Okay, so we are going to do our Tailor Tag trick to punch our banner ends. So the Tailor Tag Punch is one that everybody should have because not only does it make a really cute tag, but it also makes making banner ends really quick and simple. So I'm going to slide my strip in until I see the stamp sentiment, and then I'm going to back it off a little bit and center it. Okay, and then same thing on the other end. Now on this end, I want to leave a little bit more space because I'm going to add some twine. So I'm not going to put it in quite as far so that I have room to add my twine. Hi Jen, how are you doing? Hope you're having a good week. All right, next I have, you got it, yet another celebration freebie. This is the metallic baker's twine. It comes actually in 2 colors. This is Bermuda Bay, and then it also comes with Daffodil Delight as well. And then it also comes with some awesome sequins. We're going to use the sequins in a minute as well. So I've just added a glue dot to the back of my strip and crisscrossed it over and then adhered it again. Okay, so that's step 1. I'm now going to go ahead and glue that onto my card because it's sticky there and I don't want it to stick to my grid paper. So I'm going to add a couple of dimensionals to the back of that. Thank you, Sandy, for mentioning that for Anne, that there will be captions on the replay. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to kind of tuck this in. Now what I did is I just sort of nestled it in underneath my lilies and stuck it down, hopefully straight. Okay, just like that, and then we'll just adjust that. And then I tied a bow. So here is a quick and easy twine bow for you. So again, I've got my loop. I'm not making 2 bunny ears this time because I don't want a thick, bulky knot. I've just made a loop in my right hand. I'm taking the tail that is off to the left, wrapping it around the front of the loop, and then bringing it around and through. And that is the quickest, easiest twine bow there is. Now the trick with this stuff is not to pull it too tight. The metallic thread that goes through this stretches, and when it stretches it actually can gather your twine and make it do sort of strange things. So you just want to be really gentle with this stuff and it will create lovely little bows. So now I'm going to take and just roll a glue dot with my thumbnail here, and I'm just going to lay it right across where my twine crisscrosses there on my card, and then I'm going to take my bow and press it right into that glue dot. And the nice thing about this is I can kind of arrange my loops and press them in and they stay put. Okay, just like that. Now the last, 2 little touches that we're going to add here. You all know about my love affair with Wink of Stella. So what I did is add a little bit of Wink to each petal on my flower. I did it on the large one and on the small one, because shimmer is better than none, right? So we'll just add a little bit here. And honestly, I'm not sure how this shows up on the camera, but it just makes this whole thing pop. Like, it's magical. All right. And then the other thing that I did is my little flicky trick. So the trick with this is you have to have the ink or the glitter flowing in your wink for it to flick, okay? And so I'm just taking and flicking it against the lid, and you get this lovely glittery spatter all over your card. Okay, the last touch is to add a couple of these cool sequins. So these are the sequins that come with the twine for Celebration. Thanks, Heather. I'm glad you like it. Yes, it is different, but I really like this color scheme. So I'm going to go ahead and use some shimmery crystal effects. I love using this stuff for adhering sequins because it's already got the shimmer. So if it oozes a little bit, it doesn't really matter because it looks like it's just part of the design. So I'm using my Take Your Pick. Easiest way, use the sticky end of your take your pick. Easiest way to pick up your sequins. So I'm just putting a little dot of crystal effects where I want my sequins to go. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a couple of small ones here as soon as I find them. They're kind of buried. So we'll tuck one there. And one more right here. There we go. Done and done. Isn't that pretty? Super simple, but really pretty and lots of fun to color. These images are very forgiving when you color them because they have really bold lines. Anytime you have an image that has a bold outline like that, it makes it easier to color with the blends because if you bleed a little bit, it's less noticeable. Okay? And I don't mean you bleed. I mean if your image bleeds. I'm not talking about drawn blood. All right. That is card number 2 done. All right. Now I'm going to bring in the last one to show you. So I've showed you a couple of different ways to use those stamped images. This is a third way, and that is to stamp them on the DSP. So I mentioned that there is some beautiful DSP that comes in Celebration as well, coordinates with these images. I'll just pull in the DSP for a minute so you can see what it looks like. So we have on one side lots and lots of sort of abstract lily images. So if you are a fan of the artwork of Monet, you will love this paper. I am a huge Impressionist art fan, and this paper just speaks to my soul. I absolutely love it. So one side we have these gorgeous Impressionistic images, and then on the other, we get these beautiful wash images. So we have some watercolor dry brush, and then we have acrylic wash as well. So for this card, I actually used this Grapefruit Grove wash, and I used it to stamp my images on. Okay, now again, I've gone ahead and done a lot of this because I knew this was going to be a long video. I had a lot to show you today. So I've already gone ahead and stamped and die cut my images for this one. So let me show you how to go ahead and put this together. So first of all, here are my stamped and die cut images. Let me just get them out for you to show you. So I have stamped the water lily. Okay, this is on that Grapefruit Grove wash. You can see it's got some really cool texture. It looks like it's canvas, okay? And so there's the large lily, there's the medium lily, and the small lily. So they are all stamped and die cut. I stamped them in Grapefruit Grove ink on the Grapefruit Grove wash pattern, okay? Then I've stamped the large and the small lily pad. Now these are stamped on the green wash, and I actually stamped these in Shaded Spruce. Now Shaded Spruce is not one of the colors that's listed on the DSP as coordinating, but it totally does. All right, so I've used that and then die cut my lily pads as well. Then I've gone ahead and die cut some of the lily images. So these are the dies that cut the shapes. And I've cut one from Petal Pink and one from Grapefruit Grove. Okay, I've done the large one and the smaller one. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and assemble these. Now the cool thing about this particular die cut, I'm going to use the Petal Pink and I'm going to layer it on here. And you're going to see how that fits perfectly on the stamped image. See how cool that is? So to adhere this, I'm just going to put little teeny tiny dabs of Tombow sort of right on where the lines intersect on the die cut image. You do not need a lot of glue to stick this down. Okay, it's pretty tiny, pretty lightweight, not a lot of paper. So we're going to go ahead and just line that up over the stamped image and just press that into place. Okay, so I'm going to let that sit for a minute. Then I'm going to do the same thing with the small one. Now you're going to see this one does not line up perfectly. Okay, the other one lined up perfectly with the stamped image. This just adds sort of an accent to it. So we're going to, again, add just a little bit of glue. And we're going to go ahead and stick that down over the stamped image. kind of like that. Oops, centered is better. There we go. Okay, that's it. Now, the other thing that I did is I actually added another Grapefruit Grove die cut kind of tucked in behind it, just to add a little bit more presence to that lily. So I'm going to add a bit of adhesive to the back, and I'm just going to adhere that just so it's sort of peeking out the back. Okay, then that is ready to get glued onto my lily pad. So I'll just add a little bit more adhesive along the bottom, and we're going to go ahead and glue that on right about there. Okay, same thing with the small one. I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive here, and I'm going to add another lily peeking out the back there, and then that is going to get adhered to my small lily pad just like that. Okay, all right, now let's look at the rest of this card. Here I have a piece of that beautiful DSP. This has the blue acrylic wash on the back, and this lovely abstract lily pad on the front. Now what I've done here is I've die cut this using the Stitched Rectangles dies. They don't show up so well on the pattern, so it's hard to see, but I did use a die. You absolutely could cut this with your trimmer and it would be fine. And then I've embossed it using the subtle embossing folder, and it adds, can you see the amazing texture that it adds to that? It looks like canvas. Okay, it's pretty cool. So then I went ahead and cut a very narrow mat to layer that on. Okay, so this is just 1/8 of an inch larger than my die cut. So I'm going to go ahead and apply some adhesive there. And whenever I'm doing a really narrow border, I like to use the liquid glue because it gives me that wiggle time so I can make sure I'm getting it perfectly centered. When you have a narrow border, it's really obvious if it's off. So we'll just slide that over a little bit and then smooth that into place. Hi, Irene. How are you doing? Okay. So, by the way, that is Petal Pink cardstock. I think I forgot to mention that. And then I have a piece of Pool Party cardstock. So this is cut to 5 1/4 by 4, and it is embossed using the Scripty embossing folder. All right. So I use that as my backdrop, and I just feel like that works really well with the colors in this particular pattern. So we're going to go ahead and add our ribbon. Now, this ribbon is from the annual catalog. Okay, it is it coordinates with the Magnolia Lane product suite, and it's Petal Pink, and I love that it's so sheer, so it's really subtle. It's not quite as bold as some of the other ribbons that we have. So I am cutting one end into a V, and I'm just going to cut it long enough that it extends a little bit off the edge on either end. Okay, no bow tying needed for this. You do not always need to add a bow, much as I would love to. I love my bows, as you well know. So we're going to go ahead and just trim that. Oh, glad you're doing better, Irene. Very glad. All right, so we're going to add just a little bit of adhesive there, and I'm going to tack this down into place. Now it's going to go about 1/2 inch up from the bottom, just like that. Okay. Then I'm ready to go ahead and add my lily. So I'm going to add one sort of up here. It's going to extend off the edge just a bit. So we're going to add some dimensionals to the back of that. And get rid of those backings. And we're going to pop it on right about there, just above the ribbon. Okay, and then our smaller one is going to go down a little bit lower. It's going to overlap the ribbon just a bit. And I am going to grab a mini for this guy. Just there. And we'll get rid of those backings. And pop that on right about there. Okay, just like that. Now I'm ready to go ahead and put this onto my background panel. And again, I used more dimensionals. Yes, I'm addicted to dimensionals. My name is Lena, and I have a dimensional problem. Well, it's not a problem if you love it, right? If it doesn't hurt anybody, is it really a problem? I don't think it's a problem. Aw, thanks, Heather. I'm sure you can't wait to get home. I don't think I could be away from my stamping supplies for months on end. I think it would drive me crazy. It's nice to get away for a few weeks, but I would get the itch before too long for sure. All right, so we're going to pop this onto our embossed panel, and we're going to attempt to center it. Again, try to do it without looking at it straight on. Let's hope and pray that that's centered. That's not too bad. It's a little bit to the left, but not bad. Okay, now here we have our card base. I used Petal Pink once again. It is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. We'll fold that in half along our score line. And then add some adhesive to the back of our embossed panel. Not going too fast so as to tear our cardstock. And we're going to pop that onto the front of our card. Just like that. Okay, so the last touch is to do our sentiment. Where is my sentiment? There it is. And I forgot to grab some white cardstock. There we go. And we're just going to stamp it on some scrap in Smoky Slate ink. So this again is from that same sentiment set called Sending You Thoughts. Okay, celebration set. There's my little thanks down there. I bet, Heather, seeing everybody making beautiful stuff and not being able to make it yourself. So I'm inking up my stamp in the Smoky Slate, just stamping it on my scrap. And then I have my classic label punch. I'm going to pop that out. Now, you'll notice that this is a rather long label and I have this little tiny sentiment. So what I'm going to do is actually move it so that it's to one side. I'm going to show you how to shorten this label up to any size you need. Then I'm going to reinsert my label into the punch and I'm going to slide it so that my sentiment is now centered in the window and then pop it out. And there is a small label. Easy, right? So now you can make your labels in any size. All right, I'm going to add a couple of mini dimensionals to the back of this little guy. I got the hiccups right now and I'm not sure what's going on. It must be annoying to listen to me because my voice keeps stopping. Forgot my little small lily. So I'm just going to add that to the back and actually add a glue dot now that I've covered up one of my dimensionals. There we go. And we're just going to pop that onto the center of our ribbon. And I'm going to put it over just a bit because I put this lily a little bit lower than I did on my sample. Okay, super simple. And then again, to add a little bit of something, something, I took my Wink of Stella and I winked my die cut flower here just around the cardstock. I didn't worry about the one that is stamped. I just wanted to make this one stand out a little bit more. So I'm just adding that sparkle to those die cut flowers and it just makes the whole card come to life with some magical Wink of Stella. And there we go. Okay, so pretty, so simple, and that's that. Let me bring in my other projects. Where did I put the other ones? They're hiding. There they are. So we got 1, 2, and 3 pretty projects made using the lovely lily pad stamp set and coordinating lily pad dies. Lovely lily pad stamp set and lily pad dies. All of which are free during celebration. Okay. All right, everybody, before I let you go, I just want to remind you that there's only 1 week left to take advantage of my Tropical Oasis online class. It is free with a $60 order. And in the class, you will get the all of the project kits to make 5 cards, 3 standard cards, and 2 fun folds. We have an easel card, and we have this fun double gatefold. Okay, so that is included in the class kit. You will get your tutorial video as well as PDF instructions free with a $60 order using this host code before next Tuesday. Okay, so this expires next Tuesday evening. So if you are wanting this, make sure you place your order online using this host code, or you can email it to me directly and let me know that you want it. And I will make sure that I include you and prep this and get it mailed out to you. Okay, thanks everybody for tuning in. And I really, really hope you enjoyed these projects today. I will see you again next week for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. Bye for now.